Jackson here. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to do a 180 skid on a fixed gear. Burning rubber, drifting, there's not that much that's cooler than doing a skid on a fixed gear. A lot of you have requested this, so I'm excited to get into it. I've also noticed that skid tricks just don't seem like they're as popular as they used to be, but I think they're really cool, they're really fun. If you have any cool combinations that you can do, make sure you hashtag FOAD tutorial on Instagram. Skid 180s are a moderately difficult trick. You should definitely know how to ride fakie, skid really well, do whip skids. It's also helpful to know how to do a regular 180 in the air, and also nollie 180s are really similar. It's definitely helpful to know which foot is your dominant foot. If you are wanting to turn right, you should have your left foot forward. If you're wanting to turn left, you should have your right foot forward. It makes the trick a lot easier. So let's talk about what you need before you get started.
One quick thing before we get into the tutorial, I'm excited to announce FOAD's latest full-length release. It's called Last Try. Comes out January 14th, 2023. I'm super stoked on it. It's been over 6 years since Good Times Are Killing Me came out, and had some amazing people get involved with this one. I'm really excited to share it with y'all. If it's already out, there will be a link in the description. If not, you can go watch a little teaser. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned, January 14th. It would mean a lot to me if you watched it. I mean, I love making videos like this, but the real reason this channel exists is to make videos like that. So I hope you'll give it a watch, and yeah, let's get back to the tutorial.
You're gonna wanna make sure that your tires are not worn out and that you have a good pumped up PSI. If your tires are a little bit lower in PSI, you're gonna get more traction when you're doing the skid, and that way, you're not getting as much resistance when you're doing the skid. If your tires have any sort of knobs or tread, it's gonna be a little bit harder as well. I definitely struggled with this trick on my squid because of the tread on those tires. I like running riser bars whenever I'm doing tricks. An easier-ish gear ratio is definitely going to be helpful as well. I personally am riding 46/16. BMX platform pedals and a nice set of straps are going to be super helpful for this trick. You want to be able to get as much leverage as you can. You also run the risk of falling, so you're going to want to make sure that you can get out of your straps easily. Make sure you're wearing a helmet. So let's talk about how to do the actual skid 180. Skid 180s are going to require quite a bit more speed than any other like flat ground fixed gear tricks. The speed will help you keep your momentum and get the full rotation. Be careful though, the more speed and whipping energy that you put into the skid 180, the more likely that you're going to wash out. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if you don't rotate enough, you can potentially high side. There's two different ways to get into the skid 180. You can either be going straight, start the skid, and then start to carve it after you've initiated the skid. I don't really like this as much because it requires more speed. You're gonna be skidding longer. Some people do it this way. There's nothing wrong with it. I personally just think it's a little bit harder. The way I like to skid 180 is I'm gonna start carving my bike the direction I wanna spin before I even start skidding. Either way, you're gonna start the skid when your front foot is just about level. There's nothing different from a regular skid, at least at the beginning of the trick, except for that carving motion. Let's talk about the rotation, because that is the most important part of doing a skid 180. When you're first learning this trick, you might be tempted to do an extreme version of a whip skid, but the motions are actually a lot different to get the rotation. Whip skids happen with your hips. The front of your body is still facing forward completely, whereas a skid 180, your entire body needs to generate the rotation. Once you start the carve, you're gonna wanna lean your entire body towards the direction that you wanna turn. Your bar is gonna be slightly turned, but most of the rotational energy comes from you leaning towards the inside of the curve. You're gonna lead the rotation with your upper body. You want your shoulders to be pointed the direction that you're turning. You want your head looking ahead of where you are. That'll help make sure that you're committed and that you continue the rotation all the way through. Sometimes if you're first learning this trick, you might be a little bit scared, a little bit tentative, and you might keep your body facing forward because that's what feels comfortable, but you really gotta make sure that you're turning, looking the direction. I cannot stress this enough. So your body weight should be relatively far forward, about the middle of the top tube. When I first start the skid, my weight is further back, and then as I get towards that 90-degree position, I slowly start moving forward. It's very subtle, but that helps to unweight the back wheel so that you have less resistance for the rotation. So hopefully you made it all the way through the rotation. Let's talk about how to get out of this trick. At the 180 position, your bike should stop rotating. You can help stop the rotational momentum by putting your weight back towards your saddle. That'll help put more weight on your back wheel and stop that rotational energy. Once you stop the skid, you're gonna wanna start pushing back to ride fakie. I usually like to get out of these relatively quickly. It's just easier for me. If you are doing a fakie, make sure that you get your weight back into the saddle. I have a whole tutorial about get outs and riding fakie, so make sure you go watch that. I'll link it in the description. Make sure you're using your feet to kick the bike around the direction you want to go, really digging in with your heels and pushing it around. Sometimes your wheel can start skipping around. It's not really a problem, you can still land the trick, but you might either be doing it on a surface that's just a little bit too rough, or your weight might be a little bit too far forward, so it's just not pressing down on the ground hard enough. Look at your speed, it can be a game changer. If you're not going fast enough, you're not gonna be able to get that skid 180 all the way through the rotation. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know which tutorial you want me to do next. Check out FOADgang.com for some merch, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.